Good evening. I don't know where to start. Hyderabad looks like now my first home. People say it's a second home, but looks like my first home. Spent about 11 years here. Most of faces sitting in the hall are familiar. So I will not take the risk of taking names, annoying somebody and not and making happy others. So dignitaries sitting on the dais in the hall, it's pleasure to be here again. And I was listening to the people talking before me. I will share my experiences, what shaped me, and this being a leadership conclave, what has helped me deliver whatever we have been doing at CDSC or what I did at IPC, or before that when I was a team member with Prasad. So Hyderabad has actually been a game changer for me, at least. When I was looking at changing from Ranbaxy after having spent about 12 years there, the thing which was missing when I analyzed in my professional career till then, what was missing was that Ranbaxy was very tough taskmaster, and it trained us on the technical part of the professional. And that is one extreme where they probably had nothing called software. It was everything hardware. You have to deliver whatever way you deliver. And probably that was the reason why the company is not there. And when I wanted to complete my profile, I started looking at where do I get the software? Because now hardware is already, the body is full of hardware. So the company which I shortlisted was Dr. Reddy's Labs in Hyderabad. I didn't know anything more than what people used to say, that it's a very good company from the HR policies. They invest in people. And I don't need to say more. I'm standing in front of you. I'm actually a product of, I take it as an institution, not only a company. So, when I left after 11 years, spending in Reddy's, I was a completely different person and a different professional. And why I'm telling you that the way that those 11 years shaped me as a professional is actually helping me today in doing what I'm doing. All those leadership qualities, I still give an example of company like Reddy's, which actually took us every year for a week to Harvard. Raja Bhanu was talking about the collaboration. And a kind of environment was actually developed and created that different department, different global leaders of one company used to interact for that 1 week very closely. We used to have the classroom courses taught by Harvard professors, best-selling authors. And it's not only that 1 week of going to Boston and spending that time. That whole spirit of collaboration, the learning, everything was unmatched. And then over and above that, the NHLP, that New Horizon Leadership Program, which was actually driven by McKinsey, that actually opened the complete different perspective of yourself. It was designed around who am I concept. And then it made us understand that who we are and what for we have come here. But the best part of whole this story was, one of the issues today we hear from MSME today, because a lot of us talked about MSME issues, is that manpower is not available with us. We train them, within 6 months they go away. So how do we deal with this? And I actually give them the example of Reddy's, that unless until you understand that developing people and letting them go is your responsibility, you will not be able to solve this problem because it is not in your hand. People have to go. So you have to happily let them go with the thinking that they are going somewhere else, but ultimately they are helping the whole industry. And this is on paper as a data. I don't know whether Prasad has seen this or not, but informally we used to see and discuss that after NHLP, every year at least 10% people used to leave the company. And Reddy's would happily go them, that go wherever you want to go. And the philosophy was that they have been trained and they will probably give optimal output only if they get the environment where they want to go and settle. And probably I am one of the examples. So this brief was basically the contribution of Hyderabad in my life and my professional career, and whatever contribution, if you see, if I have done anything in the government, through the government rather, the two organizations where we changed complete the structure of both the organization, IPC and CDSCO, is actually coming from the kind of trainings which we had here in this city. This area is very familiar because I have stayed about for 4 years in L&T here, about a kilometer from here. We used to come to have tea and coffee in this area. This hotel was not there when I actually came. This was built in front of us. So old memories, but thanks to the city, thanks Prasad and Dr. Reddy's, everybody, for. So let me start the main address which I had planned with a small story, because I heard people talking about MSME have to. I think Rambabu in the beginning said that MSMEs will have to relook themselves and they have to change, they have to upgrade, fit into the new system, new context. So some of you would have heard from me, some of you would have read this story of Eagle, which has this midlife crisis. And to actually come out, I mean, it has two options, either die or change. But Eagle chose and chooses to change rather than die. And it's a very difficult and very painful time when it does everything on its body. It actually pulls out its wings so that new, renewed wings come out. It goes and sits on some hillock, keeps on hitting the beak on the rock till the point that the beak breaks. It's all blood around. But the purpose is that new beak comes and it can actually now pick the insects and can eat. So it's a very painful time for that eagle. But once it completes that, it's a new life for eagle. And it again flies top in the sky, high in the sky. It can do the properly pick the insects from the floor, eat them. And then it actually starts enjoying a rebirth kind of. So I think probably the time for many industries, I won't say only MSMEs. I mean, this phase comes in everybody's life, every industry's life. At whatever stage, whatever industry is, if we have to move to next stage, we have to do that introspection. We have to shed a lot of flab, a lot of unwanted strategies, new strategy, changes which may be painful for employees, maybe for the company itself. But once there is a rebirth, then I think for some time you can enjoy the new life and new your rebirth. So probably more for, I mean, true for all industries, but more for MSMEs. And we have to retrospect that is it the time to change, though it may be painful, from what we have been doing to what we want to do, because the context in the world has changed, not only India. And India is playing on the global platform. India is not playing for India, at least in pharmaceuticals. So if we have to grow, it's not a question of survival, or it's not a question of maintaining what we are doing. We have to grow, otherwise we'll die. We know that. Competition is so high, our neighbors are after us. So is the time to relook, introspect, and decide to change. Because opportunities are immense. If I go into numbers, I mean, you all know, I mean, more than me, because you have been in the business, you are doing international business, you know the numbers, and you know what India is for the world. But I can tell you from my experience of last 5 years, the world is actually looking towards India. What next is coming from India? We have spoiled the world, if I can say, by our generic model of business. The affordable quality medicines to more than 200 countries in the world. 60% of the global vaccine production happening, going from here. 40% of generics in US, 25% of all medicines in UK. And what more numbers we need to show that what we are today. But the point is, if we have to keep this position, if we have to grow the way we were growing, is it now sufficient? The answer is no. And that is why the government is also trying to push this whole shift from volume to value game. And you also, I mean, all of you are leaders from industry, you also have to understand that policy, see a lot of discussions around, I heard, and rightly so, there is an issue with MSME's survival. How do they cope with the new expectations of the regulator? But the point here is that we have to understand one thing, that we have all, more than 90%, in fact, this number I was thinking it's 80%, but the data which is in front of us now is more than 90% industries in this country fall in that sector of MSME. Right or wrong, it has happened, it is there, and we should try to maintain that. But the point is, when I see as a regulator, and so closely through our audits, inspections, the situation sometimes becomes very frustrating, very painful, that whatever we see, why that is happening. There is an issue of ethics, there is an issue of quality. Someone was saying that may not be intentional. I might have a different opinion there. Sometimes I see that to happen intentional also. You would have read in press multiple times. Recently, this, I can take the name of the company because it was in press, zero content oxytocin injection. That is not a mistake. We did audit of that company and that was intentional. You will be surprised to know that. And it's not the story of only Jackson. There are other companies also who are intentionally not putting API just to gain a couple of more pennies without thinking that what is happening to the patients, which is taking the medicine with some trust that whatever they're getting. And ultimately, who is implicated? The regulator is implicated. And that's what I keep on telling, and I have been shouting for the last 3.5 years, that the biggest culprit is us, the regulator of this country. why did we let that happen and come to this stage? And my frustration is that still a section of regulatory system is not able to understand. Still, the biggest frustration for me as a central regulator is that when we go for risk-based inspections, we find that people are actually waiting for us to come and then start the clock for improvement. In official meetings, I have been told by one of the state's industries association president that we know that we don't meet your expectation, but we will not close or we will not change. We will not change because we can't, because we don't have resources to change. But I will not close down till you come and close me. My key is here. You come and close. But till you come, my company will run. I mean, we are running the industry with this mindset that when regulator comes, then only we will stop. Then also I'll go to court and fight it out that no, I can't close it. But that is one part. What I'm producing and what I'm giving to patients is the issue for the regulator. The products with zero content. The sterile products having fungal growth. And that happening because I am a MSME. I do not have skill over and above. Many a times I don't have will to change. So there is a skill deficit, there is a will deficit. And then I want to take cover of being MSME. Not a single process of my manufacturing is validated. I don't even know that autoclave has some dead zones where if you don't validate it, your process properly, you will have a part of batch which remains non-sterile. So that science is not known to people. For them, autoclaving is just putting in autoclave, putting for maybe 1 hour. If a recommendation in 1.5 hours, I will pull it out in 1 hour, save the electricity bill for 30 minutes, and put the product in the market. And then if something happens, I will manage. So that's the mentality which I see on ground. I'm not happy, but let me also quote you. In last 3.5 years since I took over, we have done risk-based inspections of more than 1,200 units by now. More than 40% of this, we had to serve a stop production order. Reason is what I just spoke about. But SPOs are fine. SPOs, then there is a improvement notice, then people improve, we reinstate, revoke the suspension. We had to close down 28 organizations, complete wipe out the organizations from this existence. 28 is not a big number out of 10,000, network of 10,000 units. But it speaks a lot about the mindset with which we are doing our, people say business. I don't take it as a business. It's a service, it's not business. And unfortunately, for one section of this whole industry, it is business, like selling rice and dal and saria and cement. Only margin is important. So all these 28 manufacturing licenses or laboratory licenses were to be cancelled because they were not fit for running. Their mindset was not fit. They had no process. They had no validations, methods. QC lab is absent. And they were doing business of 1,000 crores a year. It's not that 10 crore or 2 crore annual business. So just think the role of a regulator here. What have we done? So I take that ownership that we should have done better. But on the industry side also, we have to see that do we need to now change? Because in all this what has happened in the last 3.5 years, we have made so much of noise that now everybody is sensitized. On the government side, on the press, industry itself, the consumers, everybody is sensitized. And if you don't change today, I don't think you will get second chance to change. Because today we have cancelled 28 of them, tomorrow it could be 280 of them. Because once we have started doing it, because personally I have been seeing it for 3.5 years. Last 1 month we have cancelled manufacturing and testing licenses for at least 6 units. And this is going to increase. So I'm trying to give you a message because you all from industry. Please let others know, people who are not here, that they have to change if they have to be in the business. The stories of Jackson and Velcure and standard testing lab is not going to continue. We have to change. So the opportunities, and I'm not able to understand that if we have so much of opportunity in front of us, why do we do this? I always say that all top 20 companies, if you see in India today, they were MSME just 25, 30 years ago. I mean, when we started, first year when I joined B-Farm, Sun Pharma, Reddy's, Lupin, all had just started. And in history of just 30, 40 years, you see where they are. So only difference is, I mean, there has to be some difference. Because we still file some companies at the same level for last 50 years. So what is the difference? It's just here. How do you see the context and how do you change yourself as per the context? And in pharma, it is more pertinent. It is said that when content changes, or rather when context changes, content has to change. It is more important and more pertinent in pharma. Because in pharma, the content is changing so fast, the context is changing so fast, that if we have to keep pace with it, we will have to change, otherwise we'll die. My biggest concern when I joined as DCGI, and when I did a mapping of the whole processes and just did a deep dive of the organization, I was surprised that till then nobody has asked government for an internal scientific cadre to do your review of applications. We are 100% dependent on external science, subject expert committees. And it has its own issues, no sustainability, no organizational memory. Today, one expert is there, tomorrow in the next SEC for the same company, same project, your expert will be different. And the person will see the whole project with a different eye. And I have seen with my own eyes and the very, very frequent complaint that the previous SEC accepted my protocol. Now when I have done the clinical trials and go with the data, the SEC says that no, this data is not acceptable because this protocol is not right. How do I deal with this? Then I had to shout in the system, and because of that we could get that 1,500 new positions just to create internal scientific cadre in CDSCO. Otherwise, how do we expect us to be a global regulator and review the kind of molecules which are coming, the kind of products which are coming, the kind of complexity which has come into the pharmaceutical system? Even our current experts do not know. The gene therapy, nobody knows what it is. So, some good things which are happening on the government side, looking at the context, the way it is moving, the current and future, is something which I see very positive. It shows the seriousness of the government towards this domain. Is one of the most important domains for the country's leadership today. If you see the new composition of NITI, if you see the kind of money which has been given for innovation and research, if you see the kind of talent the government is trying to gather to handle this domain, you should be convinced enough that this is one of the most important or more important domains for the country. The kind of discussions which are happening, the way government is approaching the stakeholders to talk, to understand the problem, to solve the problem, it's more than enough for all of you to understand the importance of the domain for the government. So, everything is available, the opportunity is there, the facilitation is there, the financial support, infrastructural support. Just have to, from your side, you have to just think how to make use of that. About, I think, a month back, I was in Hyderabad, and the only purpose I flew from Delhi was that I wanted to talk one-on-one with CDMO sector. Because I came out of, I think, one of the meetings, gatherings in Delhi, and then all of a sudden I met Mani there. Yeah, it was a FICCI program. So, then I met Mani there, and then all of us suddenly struck to me that, I mean, Mani is from CDMO industry. We have never, as a regulator, talked to CDMO, understood their problem. I knew that their problem is different from the mainstream manufacturing and R&D. So by the time I was planning to call them to have a discussion, CII came with an invitation that they are holding a CDMO specific some program in Hyderabad. So then I jumped. I said, boss, please add me into that. Change your agenda. I am going there and I will talk to them. I want to understand this industry. I spent that whole afternoon with CDMO and understood their real problem, which is different from. So now we are discussing how to solve that. So regulator today has changed, is trying to change. A lot of shift has happened. We are talking to people, we are talking to industry, we are inviting, calling them to understand. A lot of solutions have been put forward. A lot of them are in discussion in pipeline. I know that people like Viranchi Bhai never satisfied with what we are doing, but I just want to tell you that we have done a lot, we are doing a lot, but there are some things which we cannot do. So you also have to understand that. So opportunities point of view, the old well-oiled machinery, generics, the new shift to innovation, the signals in the system, the Wockhart's approval of US FDA, Glenmark's deal with that multinational $800 million upfront, Reddy's, Sun Pharma. So we are, and I think the journey has started. And for me, I think looks like it's an inflection point for us. Next couple of years, we'll see a boom coming here. So opportunities in innovation, CDMO, whole supply chain opportunities, the digital AI interventions. So it's full of opportunities. We just have to grab that. There is opportunity in terms of the available market. And the biggest advantage with the Indian entrepreneur today is that the channels have been established. A global channel has been established. No other country probably in this world is supplying medicines to more than 200 countries of the world. So what more we want? But we are, as a regulator, I'm still struggling to teach some of the companies how to make paracetamol. So on one hand, I'm struggling to teach them how to make paracetamol. On the other hand, I'm reviewing CAR-T therapy, most advanced cancer therapy for approval. So see my problem with one regulation, the two extremes. and in between the expectation of the industry that the approval time is very long. So things will improve for sure. A lot of changes have happened. But the day we get this 1500, that you will see a completely different regulator in this country. And I think I should spend some time on what regulator has done and what we are doing, which will change the complete structure of regulatory system of the country. So, two major changes which have already been done. Most of you, I'm sure you know. Actually, all of you should know, but if you don't know, then it is my fault that we have not communicated properly. One is the waiver of T licenses for research. You don't need to come to us till you go for the first in human study. You are free to do whatever you want. You just have to notify through a digital system. That is one big change. I say that if there was any restriction on R&D, that has been removed. And the second one is the bioequivalence, bioavailability. You don't need to come to regulator for permission to do a bio study if it is the low risk two-way crossover more than 18 subject study. This we will review, we will open it further, maybe at some point of time, we will completely open the bio studies that you don't come to us for any permission. So these are two major changes. And it has helped us also. You will be surprised to know that we were issuing more than 30,000 T licenses in a year. And what value add we were doing, I don't know. We were creating a database, and that database was so big that we were not able to look for a specific file if you wanted to understand something that in, say, 15 years ago, which license was given to this particular company. And 2 days back, we had a DCC meeting, the Drug Consultative Committee meeting. And one of the regulators from a state honestly said that you ask for information from us, that tell me which product in category 2, class 2 and 4 I have approved in last 5 years with bio and without bio. I can't tell you because I don't know. And he showed me the basically video of his office, the files piled up. He said, you expect me to go through all these files and tell you, make a list for you and give you that, how many approvals I have done? I can't do it. He was honest to say that. So that is the state of affairs. And when we say that come and get onboarded on ONDLS, become digital, then there is a problem. So on one hand, we accept that the physical files are a problem for us, but on the other hand, I want to be physical only. I don't want to become digital. So we have contradictions in the system, which we have to solve. So we have set a very ambitious target, some $450 billion by 2047, right? Sometimes I feel that how we will get there. But the next day, I feel that it's not very difficult. And simple maths also tells that it's not very difficult. Only thing is we have to basically decide today and change the way we think as an industry. Some will come from innovation. The whole medical device industry is new, nascent. Today, we are around $20 billion. The potential is about $300 billion. And things are moving in that direction. So 450 we will hit. But more important is that we will have to change. We will have to accept one thing, that without quality, innovation will have no value. Quality has to be inbuilt part of your process, inbuilt in the product. Quality, we have to understand that quality is not a cost. My today's biggest problem with one sector of this industry is that we feel that quality is a cost. And unfortunately, when I have to compete in tender, the lowest hanging fruit for me is that I compromise on quality so that my cost comes down and I become L1. So unless until we start thinking the other way, unless until we come out of that, it is difficult to hit that number of $450 billion. But I'm sure, I'm hopeful, not hopeful, I'm sure that will happen. Government's push will certainly take us there. So 2 things I said about what we have done. But there are 3 other things which are coming, which are in pipeline, which is going to change the whole face of the regulatory system in the country. And the first one I said is that 1500, the internal scientific cadre. We have decided to make it 60-40, 60% permanent, 40% flexi, we call it. And this flexi is being bought in for the reason to address the fast changing pharmaceutical domain. 20 years ago, when I was doing my PhD, 25 years, 30 years ago, I never thought in dreams that we will have gene therapy as a product. Because we used to see DNA as a very delicate material. And I personally used to think in lab that how somebody is saying that we are going to have gene therapy after some time, how will this sustain this delicate DNA strand? How will it actually sustain the atrocities on it when it is injected in body? But today it's a real world. There is a product. And forget about product. I have reviewed and approved one product, import and marketing, Zolgensma by Novartis. So it's so fast changing. And that's why we need that flexible component to pull people from anywhere in the world. And that is also an agreement that we can bring experts from outside India also to address these kind of latest technologies as a product. So unless until we know that science, how will I review and approve? So that was one. The second one is the new digital platform, which is already approved, which is already, tender is out, pre-bid meeting has happened, 26th, I think the final tender opening is there. We will identify, select the best. We are out of that restriction that someone from within the government has to develop that. We will go out in the market, take the best and do the development. And the ambition is a single platform where the central regulator, the state regulator, the PGAs, our partners like Customs, IPC, NIB, ICMR, GST, everybody will be there on the platform. And the third phase would be the manufacturer and retailers would also be part of that. So at a click of a button, anybody wants to have any information on the pharmaceutical domain will be able to get that. And this is what Mr. Mohanty was saying just now. That is already conceptualized and in pipeline it is happening. That's the second one which is going to, and third one is we have also had an agreement with the government that we will start using the non-government resources for some of the regulatory activities. The notified bodies concept which is there in medical device approval system globally, we would like to extend it towards drug side also. So that we have a support system for regulator in disbursing its duties. So these 3 changes which are going to happen, maximum next 5 years, you will see the complete scenario changing. And we might be, in terms of timeline, we might be better than any other agency, including USFDA and European agencies, both from the content point of view and from the timeline point of view. So these are changes which are happening. And as I said, whatever we do, unless until we have that realization that quality is the integral part of the product, this all is waste. we'll go nowhere. One incidence happening in one corner of the world, immediate implication comes on India if the product has gone from India. When we were tightening some of the export NOC system, one of the counter argument from exporters used to be that why are you bothered when the importing country is not bothered about what we are selling there? I mean, this is so irrational. Not only because the patients there are eating this product and ultimately if something happens, it's not good for the patient. Also politically because anything happens anywhere, and if India word is there in that value chain, immediately India is implicated, that India did this. Then nobody is there to save us and protect us. That importing country has bought this product. They should have tested it. It was their responsibility before bringing it here. You think of Gambia, you think of Uzbekistan, you think of Belarus, you think of Chhindwara, you think of Bellary. The same story. Every 6 months, you see this happening. There is a pattern. And this is happening because in spite of all the changes we are trying to do, the people who are on the ground are not changing the way they are thinking. Still, quality is cost for them. So at the end, what, 3.5 years is enough time. We had to now do it maybe the extreme way and just close down these companies who don't want to change. How long we will carry this tag of regulator being facilitator? We want to be facilitator, but we have to be given opportunity to become facilitator. I always say that I don't want to regulate. Give me opportunity not to regulate. Every day, one or the other corner from this country, I get one complaint. How do I not regulate then? I mean, our responsibility. So, I think after retirement, I have to write at least 2 books on my experiences. I want to stop here because I know we are short of time, but very interesting journey of last 5 years in government at least to understand. Somebody, I mean, a lot of my friends used to, when I was shifting, so a lot of my friends said that pagal hai. 1 saal mein wapas bhag ke aa jayega, frustrate hoke. But we took a decision that no, let's try. Because we need to keep trying different things. This morning I was telling Viranchi Bhai, our cabinet secretary 2 days back wrote a letter to all the secretaries of Government of India. And so apt phrase he wrote, one sentence in that letter, that most of you work for at least 30 years in your career and you say that I have 30 years of experience. But it depends on you that what have you done in 30 years, that is it actually 1 year experience repeated 30 times, or you did 30 years of experience where at least 30 new things you would have done. So this is exactly what we are taught in innovation. You keep on thinking, doing something new. So that's how the life is. And before we end, I just want to give a small story, again at the risk of repetition. This is story of Lily Pond, very close and very dear to me. That lily has this property of doubling every day. So on day 26, if you go to a lily pond, you will see very few lily flowers on water. And if you are say, trader in lily as a flower, and if you don't know the nature of the lily, you will come back saying that nothing is there. But the smart guy who understands the system would put bet on that because he knows that only 4 days are left. And next 30th day, this whole pond will be full of lily. Because it's actually 26th day 6%, 27th is 12, then 24, 48, and 100. So only 4 days is required for covering the whole pond with lily. So India is actually at the 26th day today. We have to understand that and be party to that. Put bet on that. And be part of that. Then you will see that where this country goes and how this shift happens from volume to value and how do we hit that $450 billion or more than that in time to come. Thanks a lot. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, sir, for your incredibly